It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
With Jimmy and Sean, sell pills for your dong. Make a fantastic song. Make a fantastic song.
You.
I just heard music. I don't know what that was about, but I just heard music.
Yeah. Did you hear music, Jimmy?
I
Did you get me thrown off YouTube?
I didn't do anything. So, matter of fact,
this your fault?
If you want to blame anybody, Nigel's in the room and he makes the videos.
Is Nigel out there pirating episodes of the Animaniacs and posting it on YouTube? What is going on here?
That's the exact content he was going after. He wanted Animaniacs on his channel. That's what it was. You didn't say what the date is, December 18. I don't even know what number it is.
Time is a flat circle and none of it matters, Jimmy.
150 something. I don't even know what number we're on this week.
Every day is a never-ending cycle of desolation and despair for me now.
Is it really? Is it really? All right. Well, let me say first that this is going to be the first week where we are going to forego stupid people this week. See, because I want to see what the reaction is going to be. We're going to do once a month, stupid people, the first week of every month.
Okay.
And then if there's overwhelming hatred and demand, then we'll bring it back more often. But otherwise, the first week of every month is when we plan to do it.
Sure.
So there's that. I want to say happy holidays to everybody. We're not doing shows for the next 2 weeks because next Wednesday's
well, we are.
No
we
live
are.
shows.
Yes, correct.
No live shows.
Next week will be a special holiday collector's edition. I'm going to release it early on Fightful Select. And how about this? Even though I am your boy, it's going to be January 1st, The List and your girl, because me and Denise are doing not a holiday, but a theme song themed episode in kind of in place of this. We'll run it the afternoon of January 1st. That way people will still have content. Hot dog.
Okay, there you go. So that's cool. So we'll be back, I guess, the 8th will be the next live show after today.
It's wild, right?
So,
it feels like it's
coming quick.
A full month away.
Yeah, it's coming quick. So I guess I'll tackle this YouTube issue next. Sean's been asking me like every little while, what's the latest? What's the latest? What's the latest?
I have not.
It's
been twice. It's been twice. I asked you today, and I asked you that day when you. I
mean, every day is every little while, right, Nigel? So I'm not wrong.
In the last week, I don't think so.
All right. So here's the high-level explanation. I told Sean off there. I'm not going into great detail, but here's the high-level explanation. So one of our divisions of my company is a content development division, as I think some of you guys might know. We own a bunch of websites. We own a couple of mobile apps, and we have a lot of YouTube channels associated with those sites. What I did not know was that in the eyes of YouTube, those channels were connected or they were associated. I think the term they used was linked or associated.
Yes.
And I didn't know that, and I don't know if my team did, but I didn't. And so one of the channels was hit on, I think it was last Thursday, the 12th, was hit with like more than 24 copyright strikes via automated filters. The copyright strikes were deemed to be associated with Warner Brothers. And so because they have a 3-strike policy on YouTube, and it was like more than 24 that came in one shot, they shut down everything with no notice. And so Fightful, because in YouTube's eyes, Fightful is associated with the other channel, got shut down as well. And so the last week has been spent trying to find an actual living human being, like a living, breathing, blood-pumping human being at YouTube, because nobody likes to respond to anything. And
it's the worst.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at it like this, and I've had this conversation. I don't know if I talked to you about it, but I talked to other people about it. YouTube has tens of thousands of content creators, if not hundreds of thousands of content creators. And I understand that they don't want to make their employees too accessible because then they're going to be just bombarded. And I understand that. Where it's been frustrating for me is that I, along with my attorney, we kind of like formed a little tag team on this where we've been reaching out to specific people in copyright, specific people in the legal department, specific names of specific people, and no one has returned a phone call.
Yes.
And that to me is frustrating, especially my attorney works for one of the biggest firms in the world, and so he's no chump calling these lawyers that work at YouTube and not getting a response. That's a little frustrating. The good news is that I have had luck with Warner Brothers. I've now spoken to 2 attorneys at Warner Brothers. They've been pretty accommodating. They've asked me for all the information, and so I'm pretty confident things are going to get resolved. Now, granted, the time of year sucks because everybody's wrapping up for the year. And so I told Sean, good chance it won't be resolved until the new year because everybody's, after this week, a lot of people are going to be taking time off.
I see that as almost a benefit for us because we don't have another live show until January 8th. And I'm like, you know what? For us, maybe that's not so bad because I'll say this. People have not had trouble finding my new channel.
Yeah.
Our numbers are comparable, and that's good. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and this was funny. This was something where Sean and I had a little disagreement. When this happened on last Thursday, the 12th, Sean, and I understand your position because, like, you've put 3 years in and we have all this archival footage that's currently locked up. I get it. I get the frustration. But Sean and other people that work for Fightful, too, were pretty dejected and frustrated, and I like to use the term kicking cans. I was not, and I still, to this day, am not. And the way I look at it is it an inconvenience? Yeah, it's an inconvenience. Is it annoying? It's annoying. And are the people at YouTube being unprofessional because they don't return a phone call? Yeah, it's unprofessional. Yeah. I never looked at it as any more than that. I use the term hiccup. I use the term speed bump or bump in the road. And Sean even said to me, I feel like you're minimizing the situation because I've got 3 years of work in. The reason I say that is because I will never allow my business to be dictated by one platform, right?
Sure.
I will never allow one platform to define my business. I'll just never let that happen, and it doesn't matter if it's Fightful or if it's the other divisions of my company. That's why I don't look at this as any more than just a speed bump. And I told Sean, absolute worst case scenario, if the Fightful channel in its existing form never returns, and I think it will, but if it never returns, we'll start over. And we'll rebuild the content. And a year down the road, we'll look back at this and we'll kind of chuckle about it and say,
I will not chuckle about it. I will 100% not chuckle about it.
In a year, you might. Like in a year, you might.
I for sure will not.
Okay.
Because as I pointed out to you, 4,500 videos. I think that's roughly about 3.5 per day since we've launched. And that's if we put something up every single day.
Right.
That's a lot. And I mean, we don't have hundreds of thousands and stuff. And there are some times when we probably could have scaled back some of our content and all that. And I mean, maybe the algorithm will be kinder to us now that we're more established. I don't know. But when I go to an article from 3 weeks ago and it's got a dead link video on it, that's frustrating to me. When people say, hey, I want to watch your interview with this person, that's frustrating to me. When we've got an entire shoot interview section that's bare right now because of that, that's frustrating to me. And it's particularly frustrating to me because it's the third time that we've been fucked with by YouTube or WWE fucked with us one time.
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't them. It was them. DAZN fucked with us one time and we didn't do anything. And then when you try to get help, what happens? Well, I hit up DAZN and they're like, well, maybe if we whitelist you, that wouldn't happen. So maybe we can do an exchange where you put a banner on your site. No, I'm not rewarding you for doing your fucking job right. I'm not giving you real estate on our website so you won't fuck up at your job. You shouldn't suck at your job. You shouldn't need like some sort of special incentive from the person that you fucked over to not suck at your job. You know the one benefit of this being on my channel, Jimmy?
What's that?
I run it, and I got to ban Melissa from the comments section.
Oh, how about that? Congratulations. The Fightful champion has been banned from the live chat.
This was all a plan. I hit up Warner Brothers. I said, I need you to copyright strike a bunch of random shit.
Yeah.
I just want to ban Melissa. So technically, that's a TKO. Am I Fightful champion?
No, you're not, because there was no referee.
There is a referee. It's me.
You can't be the referee and the competitor.
Okay. So you say there's got to be a camera present. For what? We putting it on Twitter? Hell no. I am the authority of the YouTube division now. I am running this.
Well, you're not the champion.
I am the champion.
That's how it is. But anyway, long story short, I guess, is I'm confident this will get worked out. But I'm not losing any sleep over it. I'm just not, because to me, YouTube is one of many platforms that we use. And again, I will not allow YouTube or any other platform to kind of dictate or run our business.
That's right.
So-
I will let the giant bonus that Jimmy's going to give me as a result of this define me.
Why would I give you a bonus? Explain that.
Why wouldn't you, Jimmy?
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, if you want to come for our holiday party on Friday, we're gonna do food challenges.
You know what? Maybe if you would have told me, but I have a wedding rehearsal to go to.
Oh, really? Do you? Okay. That'll
I've
be
not
fun.
been invited to one Christmas party, Jimmy.
And you know what's interesting? And I just thought of this. Camillo's never attended one of our holiday parties
It's
before.
gonna be fun.
So I'm targeting you with one of the food challenges, Camillo.
It's
I'm
worth
looking
it.
at you. And
It's worth
matter of fact, Nigel is always one of our champions on the food challenges. He always crushes at least one of them
Yeah.
every year. How much did you win last year?
I think I got $1,000.
$1,000 he got last year, Sean. It's not bad, So we'll see.
It's solid. A solid $23 USD.
Yeah, your exchange drops every time we tell these stories. Your exchange drops. Let's move on. I want to talk about a few people. So first, I want to express condolences to the family of Randy Colley, a.k.a. Moondog Rex. Me being a WWE fan from the mid to late 80s, the Moondogs were always on television. They were an enhancement team back then. And the one thing I always remember about Moondog Rex was how enormous he was for an enhancement talent, because he was a very large human being. He passed away on December 14 at the age of 69. Apparently, he had just undergone surgery to have his right leg amputated from the knee down. I'm assuming from diabetes. I don't know for sure. But apparently he had that surgery, and I guess there was complications. He was the original Demolition Smash before
Yes.
Barry Darsow. I still vividly remember their debut with Johnny Valiant. I thought it was Darsow.
But yeah, Darso.
Really?
But I mean, weren't they chanting like Moondog at him and stuff?
I don't recall that. I just remember that like Johnny Valiant was their manager, which he was so not a fit for that team,
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a hold of Mr. Barry Darsow, and he took over the role, and that's kind of what happened.
Well,
But
he's not Mr. Barry Darso. He's Mr. Hole in One.
I vaguely remember that character. WCW,
Yeah.
right?
He was a golfer, yeah.
I vaguely
and the
remember that
Blacktop
character.
Bully and the Repo Man. And
That's right. That's right.
Isn't it amazing, like how they switched up so many people? Like all they did with Barry Darso was shave his head and get rid of the paint, and they threw in a little Repo mask, and that was it. But Crush had like 6 different characters, but he was always the same guy.
He was always Crush,
He was always technically Demolition Crush, whether he was a Hawaiian or a jailbird or a biker or what. They kind of did a call in like 93, 94 as well.
Yeah, he was always Crush.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing about going back, I guess, to Barry Darsow, not that I want to get away from Moondog Rex, because that was kind of the point, but
Yeah.
you might have noticed that when he was Demolition Smash, he wore a elbow pad over his tattoo, because he came over from the NWA where he was Crusher Khrushchev. And in the NWA, he did not cover the tattoo, and so WWE covered it thinking it was going to throw people off. When he became Repo Man, they took off the elbow pad.
Yeah.
Because suddenly, they don't want you to think he's Demolition Smash now,
What did you think of when Moondog Rex was in Demolition? What did you think of their paint? Because it was so different than what we saw. It was a lot more colorful. Well, kind of. It was like black and blue and yellow, and then his was like red and yellow. He would throw in some silver here.
They
and
were
there,
obviously experimenting with them. What the main thing I remember about Moondog Rex when he was Demolition Smash, because I remember pretty vividly their debut on television when they won the match. Demolition Smash Rex, Moondog Rex. He's looking around for a second, and then out of nowhere he stops and he looks straight ahead, and he widens his eyes and he goes, and he just and he just stands there doing that. Go back and look it up on YouTube, but don't look at anywhere near our channel. But otherwise, go back and look it up on YouTube, and you'll see it. But anyway, the next thing I want to do is I want to give best wishes to Tracy Smothers, because he was diagnosed with lymphoma. He's undergoing treatment. If you're not familiar with him, he was in WCW. He was one half of the Southern Boys. He was one half of the Young Pistols with Steve Armstrong. In WWE, he was Freddie Joe Floyd. Then he was in ECW. After that, he even worked for TNA back in, I think, 2010.
His SMW run, those matches with Chris Candido
Smoky Mountain, yep.
Ooh, those were amazing matches. And I know that a lot of contemporary fans might remember him. How I became reacquainted with him after the JBL Blue Meanie thing, if you remember, he was trying to fight JBL. Like,
Right,
he
legitimately.
wanted to fist fight JBL over that. And,
Yes.
so I've got a little bit of insight on that. I was in Lexington doing a couple of interviews at Primetime Wrestling. It was it would have been 2 days after his diagnosis. It was November 16th. And Tracy was supposed to do a seminar there. But the guy that I was there to interview, Chris Michaels, had to step up and do it. And I interviewed Chris for a while. You guys are going to see that major feature coming. And I interviewed Larry D, who just got signed by Impact and runs the promotion. So I asked Chris Michaels, I'm like, hey, why isn't Tracy here? Because I wanted to talk to Tracy too. And he was like, well, he's feeling sick. And if he's feeling sick enough to pull out of a date, it's got to be something really bad and really serious. And I just remembered that. And this wasn't public yet, obviously. He had been diagnosed a couple days before. Mm-hmm. This booking was a couple days after. 2 weeks after that, I'm at WrestleCade, and I'm interviewing Mikey Whipwreck. And Tracy Smothers just sits right down in the shot and starts grabbing, talking to me, during the interview. So I've got a bit of an interview with Tracy Smothers as well.
That's cool.
Couldn't have been nicer. Very, very good dude. Obviously, still willing to make his WrestleCade date and stuff like that. So he's still out there. He said it's not life-threatening,
right?
But still, hope he gets better.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. So best of luck to him. Last but not least, Piper Niven. Of course, she's with the NXT UK brand right now, and she's pretty young. She's in her 20s. She was struck by Bell's palsy this past week, and I happened to check her Twitter account because I wanted to kind of see how she was doing. You want to talk about handling it like a champ.
Oh, yeah.
Like her Twitter account, she is so positive. She's making fun of herself with like her facial expression and everything, talking about how she can do a really good people's elbow, eyebrow, I mean. She's handling it like a champ. Best of luck to her. And apparently she's recovering pretty quickly.
Yeah, she's had – you want to talk about a roller coaster of a few months. She came out a few months ago, and then she announced she was engaged. I think it was maybe like less than a month ago. And then she gets hit with Bell's palsy. It's like, man, that's some major life stuff happening in very short order.
Very short, yeah.
Hope she gets better. Like you said, she's handling it amazingly.
Yep. All right, we're doing this on December 18. Sean Ross Sapp had some news about Killer Kross today. What is it, Sean?
He's a free agent. He is free and clear. Now, there was a lot of positioning and stuff that was going around. And supposedly, I later find out that Impact quietly announced it on their Twitter before I got the information. But I got the information straight from the source. Killer Kross told me that he was free and clear. I asked him after I had heard. He was like, yep, sure am. Happened today. This is the best possible move. And I got the feeling once they moved to Access, this type of thing would happen. The people at Access are working very, very hard to rehabilitate the image of Impact Wrestling. And this would have been a major negative. Mm-hmm. If they kept a guy under contract for another year, as his rollover would have mandated, didn't book him, didn't pay him anything, it would have been a huge black mark. But you look at a guy like Killer Kross and the way he can talk, the way he can work, how he looks, he's going to be in demand, Jimmy. If I'm Ring of Honor, I'm throwing six figures at him immediately. There's no way you don't try to sign this guy.
Yeah, but they won't go beyond $20,000.
Well, because nobody's ever worth more than $20,000, Jimmy, especially not Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah, right? Exactly, yeah. My gut tells me he's going to WWE because that's where his girlfriend is. That's kind of my gut. And I had even said to Sean, devil's advocate, do you think WWE went after Scarlett because they want Killer Kross? You know? But I think that's where he's going, and I think he would be fantastic on the NXT brand. I think he could crush it on that brand. I think it's hard sometimes for guys on the main roster to get lost in the shuffle because they got so much talent.
Yeah.
But in NXT, I think he would do very well. He's got a very unique look. He's a unique talent, like you said. So
I think he could fit in anywhere, though. He could go over to New Japan because he's got that MMA background.
Yeah, you get New Japan too. Yep.
Also, I could think of a lot worse people to be leading the Dark Order. Those two people. If you wanted a real face, a person to kind of stand in front of them, I think that you could do a lot worse than that. I think that he's going to be really good, and he should have a lot of offers very soon. He's been doing so great this year, even without Impact, with those sort of blood sport shows that he does, the Future Stars of Wrestling Natural Born Killers. Really like Killer Kross.
I never did see the Frank Mir match. How was that?
What, from earlier this year? I don't know if
Yeah.
he faced Frank Mir.
Oh, did they not have the one-on-one? I thought they were having the one-on-one with the company out of Vegas. No, they never.
that
did
was the Natural Born Killers thing, but I don't know if that match. Let me. I don't know if that was the one from. No, they didn't face each other.
they
I don't
didn't.
think that was the face off there.
I know they had the
believe.
face-off. I thought Mir wrestled the next month. I thought.
I'm not. I'd have to go back and
Okay.
look. Like,
All
it's
right.
been such a scatterbrained period. So
Okay, I want to move on and talk about NXT versus AEW for a minute. It's such a polarizing topic, and it's so fascinating. So it seems, and we've talked before about how, pro AEW fans crap all over WWE, sometimes unnecessarily. Pro WWE fans crap all over AEW, sometimes unnecessarily. It's very clear to me in a lot of ways how blind people, when they have an allegiance to one brand, how blind they are to the facts.
yeah.
I find that very interesting. On December 16th, WWE NXT's Twitter account posted this. Do you have the tweet shot there, Camilo? Breaking: the NXT Championship match between Adam Cole and Finn Balor will kick off NXT and will be presented commercial-free this Wednesday, which, of course, is tonight. I retweeted that tweet with my own little commentary on Twitter. Put up my tweet.
Yeah, put up his
Camilo.
shit post, please.
Yeah. No, yeah, right, my shitpost. I said NXT launching on USA had nothing to do with AEW launching on Twitter, and the fact this week's show will start with a big match and be commercial free has nothing to do with the fact that AEW has a loaded season finale card booked, right? And obviously what I meant by that is it's very obvious that NXT is on USA to counter-program AEW. It's very obvious. And it's very obvious that NXT makes moves to counter-program AEW, like the overrun, like starting with a hot match, like having it be commercial-free. You would not believe how many people responded to me, Sean, telling me I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. Some people said, oh, sure, Sean. Some people said AEW hasn't released their card yet, when at that time they had released 5 matches for the show. And people said, what do you mean they haven't released their card yet? There were other people that said, you don't know what you're talking about. NXT was already on Wednesday nights. They were on the network. They were not on television. And the fact of the matter is, it was on July 24th, which ironically enough is my birthday. It was on July 24th that AEW announced that they're going to be on Wednesday night starting October 2nd. A month later, WWE announced that NXT is going to be on USA, and in order to try to jump the gun on AEW, they announced that they were going to be launching in September, a couple of weeks before AEW. And just to show you how last minute that whole thing was, USA had the Suits finale going on, and the Suits finale was so important to USA, right? It was so important that they had to split up NXT, put the first hour on USA, and put the second hour on the network because they didn't want to take Suits off the air because it was the finale. It's so obvious that NXT was done intentionally to counter-program AEW. And there were some people that said to me on Twitter, well, what do you care? It's competition. I don't care. I'm cool with competition, but at least acknowledge it. WWE has never acknowledged it. Even Triple H has never acknowledged it. Oh, one has nothing to do with the other, which is bullshit. They did it intentionally to counter-program AEW, and it would be cool if they would own up to the things that they do.
There are a lot of people that would say, oh, well, they've been talking about that forever. They had NXT on in December of 2017. Well, that's fine. There was no deal in place. There was no deal being set until then. AEW knew long before. I talked to people in AEW well ahead of time. I'm pretty sure I showed Jimmy the messages where they're like, yeah, we know NXT is going to go up against us whatever night we're on. And I had people that specifically in WWE told me that the plan was NXT versus AEW, quote, whatever night they're on. If this would have been Thursday, then NXT would have been moved to Thursdays, and that's when it would have happened. That's just, I mean, this is from people that work on the show. Lots of them.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I have no
That's
issue
the
with
thing.
it. I just wish that they would actually own up to it. There's nothing
Exactly.
wrong with competition. Nothing wrong with it.
That's the thing. When you say that, people think that you're like taking a shot at it. Well, you're taking a shot at them downplaying it, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
It's very frustrating to see that, like where people just can't be rooted in realism. I'll complain about stuff, but I'm going to be fair about it. I'm going to come back the next week with a fresh perspective on things, because if you don't give something a fair shot, then it's not really objective, and everything's going to be rooted in bias. And that's important for my job, but if you want to be a tolerable human being, it's kind of important.
A tolerable human being.
Yeah, I know that's a crazy concept to you.
Is that how to
as you
define
say
yourself? You're a tolerable human being?
that. I'm a tolerable human being. I'm not going to say I'm a pleasant human being. I'm tolerable.
I should show you a picture. My kids today got their picture taken with Santa Claus.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't make it today because I had stuff to do at the office, but my wife sent me the photo, and I immediately recognized that Santa, and I said to my wife, is that the asshole Santa? Because 2 years ago, we had the same Santa, right? And 2 years ago, I was there for that. And no joke, my kid was being a little bit troublesome because she was 3, right?
Yeah.
She was being a little bit troublesome. And I was over, and I said to Santa, I said, hey, sorry, maybe let's try putting her on this side, whatever. He looked at me and he goes, you mind letting me do my job?
Wow.
And I could tell by looking at him, this is just a miserable human being. And so what I did was I looked at him and I said, hey, relax, let me take care of it, all right? And he's like, well, I'm just trying to do my job here, sir. And I was like, all right, we're dealing with a miserable asshole Santa.
That's good shit.
So as soon as I saw the photo, and I'm not going to show you the photo because I don't like showing too much stuff with my kids.
Yeah.
But the photo, my daughter's smiling in the camera, and asshole Santa's looking at the camera like this. He's just a miserable asshole Santa. I don't know how he's employed, but he is. So good for him, I guess.
Oh, well, you know who was employed for a long time and might be again if the fantasy matchup comes together. Stevie Ray, who was called out by the Revival this week. I was like, you know what? Wasn't going to run this interview for a week because I don't have a fucking channel. But you all get to hear a part of that interview right now.
Well, I always put over your analysis whenever I've seen your stuff on Title Match Wrestling. Like, you're still so plugged into everything wrestling, and you have all this great advice. How often do you have people telling you that you have influenced their careers, especially within the tag team ranks?
Well, the thing is, man, just like when I was doing my Hall of Fame speech, and I talked about how Arn Anderson had, greeted me when I first came in, me and my brother, and I never forgot that. So when it comes to professional wrestling, it's just like in life, man. It's easy to not give. It's hard to give and have empathy for others that's trying to come up and do the same thing. Because I've never been one of those persons worrying about somebody taking what I got. Never been that guy. If I can help you, I'll help you. And I can inspire you, I'll inspire you. And I think that's how life should be, because that's how Jesus Christ lived his life.
I remember you telling me, proof that I interviewed you, that Doug Dillinger walked up to you one time and was like, here's the slapjack. They told me it's for you. And you told me that you were like, I did not ask for this.
Right.
And then you had it.
Right.
Is that something that, like, you got to keep plentiful these days? Do you still have slapjacks laying around?
Well, I got a couple.
Yeah.
I got a couple. Actually, that situation, you're 100% right. Somebody heard me talking in conversation with some other wrestlers. And I was saying, man, if I could think of my own gimmick, you know what I would do? I'd make me a slapjack and I'd hit somebody in the back of the head like they used to do on the old gangster movies, right? So somebody heard that and they got to the office and the office thought it was cool. And next thing I know, they'd make me a slapjack, but they never told me about it. Yeah. And I'm like, where did this come from? That was a true story. But in the real, I still keep a couple of my slapjacks with me. Maybe I'll start marketing them.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? One of your NWO stablemates, Vincent Soul Train Jones, has made a reemergence on the wrestling scene.
Oh, I did not know that.
You didn't know that? He's been in some AEW Chris Jericho vignettes.
You know, I saw that, but I thought the stuff was superimposed. I swear to God, I thought somebody was making a joke on. No, I'm just saying with the picture that I saw, I did not know that. Hey, good for him.
Yeah, he's gotten his way back in there, gotten a couple dates. I was wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to watch AEW at any length, but I think they're going to hell of a job.
Yeah. Let the people know where they can find you on social media and all over the web.
Hey, they can find me at The Real Stevie Ray on my Twitter, or Stevie Ray on Twitter, Real Stevie Ray on Instagram.
There you go.
You can find a lot of my stuff on YouTube. I'm getting ready to come out with a new video magazine. Actually going to be calling it Inside Professional Wrestling with Stevie Ray. And you can also find me on Facebook, the Stevie Ray athlete of the Stevie Ray. So, hey, man, I'm all over the place, and I'm going to be out there even more.
Stevie Ray, this is evidence that this interview actually happened. Thank you so much. Until next time, we're out.
I would like to issue a personal apology, as well as extending thoughts and prayers to those who are affected by my language. This is an incredibly tough time for me personally, as I am dealing with not having.
Unfortunately, you froze, so we missed everything you just said.
Oh no! I muted my microphone.
Oh, you
while
did.
I cursed.
Oh, okay.
And I would just like to issue a personal apology in that regard.
My wife's because my wife sent me a text message during that interview saying she wanted to watch the podcast, but my kids are home with her, and she's like, Sean's got a potty mouth. It's like F, shit, basically.
I try not to curse. I apologize. She's a wonderful woman.
All right, so again, we're doing this on December 18th. So I was asking Sean during that interview, what are they calling tonight again? The season finale of AEW Dynamite and NXT on USA. So loaded cards tonight, Sean.
Well, AEW will be there on December 30th, so I don't know why they're doing that.
They're going to be live? They're going to be live that day, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. AEW Dynamite has 5 matches announced, plus Awesome Kong. They haven't announced an opponent for her yet. But Jericho Jungle Boy non-title, which, is a little asterisk that you got to remember. SCU Young Bucks for the tag team titles. Omega, Hangman Page, Lucha Brothers. And I could see Hangman and Omega maybe starting their little program. Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, #1 contender match. And Cody and Darby Allin against the Butcher and Blade. So that's interesting. And then on USA, 2 big matches. Adam Cole, Finn Balor for the NXT title. Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley for the women's title. That's like takeover worthy, Sean.
Also, I need to clarify, they're doing a show on January 1st. My bad. So, yes, this would make sense as the season finale.
Right, okay.
I'm dumb. But, yeah, I've been looking forward to covering wrestling tonight, and that doesn't always happen. Like, I'll be honest, there's a lot of times I'm like, all right, it's Raw, cool. I never dread my job, but I'll get to 8:45 p.m., and I'm, like, kind of yawning. I'm excited to cover things tonight. I'm ready for it.
Hell, you yawn sometimes during the show, and you have no idea how much that irritates me.
Well, I mean, look at what I'm working with here.
Yeah. Look who signs the checks. Let's yawn my ass off.
My channel, my rules.
Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So, you know how last week, yeah, I'll remember that come payday. You know how last week we talked about fundamental problems with AEW Creative? Yeah. And I thought that was interesting because Chris Jericho, he was just on the Keeping It 100 podcast with Conan, Shane Helms, and Disco Inferno. And
Shane Helms isn't on that show anymore.
Oh, he's not? Okay, I just looked at their YouTube and he was listed there. But Chris Jericho said that he called a team meeting because the lack of tag rules and psychology drove him nuts. And that was a quote, drove him nuts. He specifically called out the Lucha Brothers. He said that they were lazy with tags. They tried to explain it away by saying that it was Lucha style. And Jericho claims that he called them out as being lazy. And you know what I found really interesting about that? Number one, we've talked about the tag team stuff a ton of times. But another thing is there are specific websites that I won't mention, wrestling sites, that are very obviously pro AEW. And whenever they review Young Bucks matches, they consistently praise their psychology. And if you know what sites and what reviewers I'm talking about, they consistently praise the Young Bucks psychology. And I always read those reviews going, what? Because the Young Bucks have zero psychology in their matches.
I wouldn't say zero.
Okay, fine. They have 1% psychology in their matches.
I'll say this, because a lot of people assume that also means, they don't sell, they can't sell. They can sell their ass.
Yeah, I'm not talking selling. I'm not talking selling.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what a lot of people... I mean, if you can get Vince Russo to admit that the Young Bucks are good at selling, which I've been able to do, it's a pretty good indicator, man. Like, even he can't be like, no, they don't. They're really good at selling, but this is why I'm such a stickler for things making sense, because things making sense help accentuate things mattering. Rules matter. Rules should matter because they're important. Hats off to Chris Jericho for doing that. Yep. Quite frankly, we brought it up on the Wednesday Night War podcast, which airs every week after NXT and AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Pentagon's a little overrated, I think, and has been. I think he was the beneficiary of a lot of editing on Lucha Underground.
I mean, Phoenix is by far the athlete of that team. There's no question about it.
Phoenix is a top 10 worker in the world.
Nick Jackson's actually very good too. He's very good athlete.
And I think that Matt Jackson is also very good, but him and Nick are so different. And so are Pentagon and Phoenix. But a lot of times I'll see Phoenix and he's like, get lost, super kick. Get lost, super kick. Get lost, they're on their knees, another one. Like, it's a little frustrating. So when I would see them just hop in and out, and that buries the ref. And a lot of times these matches are early. And any show that is worth their weight, one of the first things you'll hear in a backstage meeting is, if you're going to bury the ref, you better not be the first match. It better be like 7 or 8 or something like that, because that ref has to hold the respect of the crowd for the duration of the show. And if you show the crowd in match number 1 that ref is not to be respected and his rules are not to be respected, then everything that everybody tries to do for the remainder of the night is hampered by that. And I thought that this was a big problem.
Yeah, well, good on Chris Jericho for calling that out. I think that he has been such a positive, such an asset to AEW. I think he's been the biggest asset of anybody in that company so far. So good for him. I want to ask you about Bray Wyatt at TLC. I felt they missed the mark pretty hard. What did you think?
Yeah, that match
I didn't
sucked
like
so
it.
bad. I liked the entrance. But it was quiet when he first came out.
Yeah,
Quiet.
That was the one match that I was looking forward to on the show. I felt like The Miz was the wrong opponent, but I was looking forward to the match just because I wanted to see how are they going to handle Bray Wyatt as Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
The entrance was okay, but once the bell rang, I thought they massively missed the mark. The crowd did not like it. And to be honest with you, when he pulled the sweater off and he had the singlet underneath, I almost questioned, okay, is he going to like disappear then come back out with the mask on or something? Because he looked like the Fiend without the mask on once the sweater came off. Massively missed the mark. I did not like it. I thought Bryan looked great. And,
he did.
He looked really good, and I love it when he does the big running drop kicks in the corner.
Oh boy, yeah.
I love those because he's, you know what he reminds me of when he does those? He reminds me of Kenny Omega with the quick intensity on those. But I wasn't feeling Bray. I will say this: the thing on SmackDown when they had the doll in the crib, I kind of dug that, even though I know it's going to turn to another piece of merch because that's what they do with Bray Wyatt. But I kind of dug the doll in the crib. I thought that was all right. What'd you think of all that?
Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I'm glad that Bray's facing Daniel Bryan because, you know, maybe the one with Roman Reigns, but I'm struggling. Okay, the last man standing with John Cena was also great. Other than that, I'm struggling to remember somebody besides Reigns, Cena, and Daniel Bryan that Bray Wyatt had a great singles match with. Now, a lot of what he's doing doesn't depend on great matches. But if you have stinker after stinker after stinker, that reputation is going to precede you. That being said, if the 3 people that you've had a great match with are John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan, I don't know if that instills a ton of confidence in me in that regard because that ain't that hard to do. They're all 3 awesome entertainers at what they do. This played the hokey pokey with the character. I couldn't tell if Bray Wyatt was or if he was a badass. I could not tell. I don't know if he was just a normal dude who was competitive.
Yeah.
I'll reserve judgment and see how it plays out eventually. But yeah, I thought the entrance was the highlight of this. Or Daniel Bryan's appearance was the highlight of it. The entrance was okay because he took a crowd that made no noise when he came out, and by the end, they were kind of excited for it. But that match sucked, and that's a bummer.
I really think that the program with Seth really hurt Bray Wyatt.
It did.
Because, you know, Vince McMahon, he was probably thinking, you know, I want to recreate The Undertaker in terms of no-selling finishes and stuff like that. But they made Bray look stupid because he would stay down to allow the referee to call off the match and then pop up like he wasn't hurt when you've just lost your title opportunity. Yeah. So they made him look stupid, and I think he really lost momentum and lost steam because of that program. So we'll see if they can get it back with Bryan. Kairi Sane, any update?
None. I mean, she got evaluated Monday, but everybody who knows anything knew she was going to get updated Monday. Not cleared. Pull from live events upcoming. I mean, I don't blame them for pulling her from upcoming live events. Why even risk it? I mean, the good thing, they got a couple weeks to kill. And another good thing, Asuka is clearly being positioned to wrestle Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
So you don't really need to rush to like pull the title from her or anything, because why would you do that? Somebody in the Q&A on Fightful Select, which I'm about to plug, they said, how would you feel if they brought up Io Shirai and had her like as a third member of the Kabuki Warriors? And I was thinking about what she's doing on NXT right now, which is nothing. And I was like, you know what? That'd be real good, honestly. She would fit right in with them with the heel personalities. You want to talk about flexibility, what that would give the Kabuki Warriors? They could run the Freebird rule.
Freebird rule.
They could still be on NXT because they've got those women's titles and they've established that. If Asuka wanted a singles run, or Kairi or Io wanted a singles run, it's there. I think that would be a brilliant idea. They don't have to change up the gimmick for anybody. I think that would be really good. I mean, now there's something to be said about grouping all the Japanese women together, but they're all connected by Kairi Sane.
It would be like a pioneering act.
Yeah.
Like, has there ever been a female Freebird rule type act like that?
Not really. See, that's the thing. There's so many things that are exhausted tropes that they do with men that they don't do with women.
Right.
Are there any women with male managers right now?
Women with male managers.
Why isn't Malcolm Bivens managing somebody? Why isn't Robbie E managing somebody? Why isn't Drake Maverick managing somebody? Why don't we see any of that?
Even Sami Zayn could have a female talent. You know what I mean?
Like, imagine if you know how I had put over how Malcolm Bivens and Stokely Hathaway should have managed AOP. What if it were him managing Nia Jax and Tamina? Like, and he was their mouthpiece. Are they going to be a great in-ring team? No, but you're going to look forward to the promos at least. There are so many things that have been done to death with men that they could use for women, and it'd seem a lot more fresh. And I think that would work a whole lot better. But you know what works, Jimmy? Fightful Select works. Fightfulselect.com. My Q&A show goes up tomorrow, over 100 questions answered. The second half of your Q&A goes up this weekend. But in the meantime, we've got Sour Graps from Alex Palowski. I know a lot of people miss him on review shows, but he reviews Raw and SmackDown every single week, and we run those live. Also, every single week, we have Steven Jensen's Fightful Select Weekender podcast. We're talking NWA, Ring of Honor, 205 Live, NXT UK, a lot of stuff in that regard over there. You get lots of exclusive news, but for all subscribers this month, I'm going to give you early access to our Christmas edition of Listen Ya Boy, and when me and Denise get our wrestling theme song show filmed, that will be up there as well. We got retro reviews every month, and I got a lot of people asking about like when we move it to Fightful.com. I'm getting more excited. The more people ask me about that, I'm like, all right, cool. There's some interest there. So keep your eyes on that, guys. But FightfulSelect.com is how to directly support what we do.
Cool. So we had the Stevie Ray interview, and you mentioned the Revival. What was the point of that whole thing with the Revival and Booker? Was that like just some off-the-cuff thing, or do you think that they're actually going to consider having Harlem Heat do a one-off?
I don't know if WWE will consider it, but I think the Revival would consider it. I think the Revival believe enough in themselves that they think that they could get a good match out of Harlem Heat. Now, I want to be clear because I know somebody will tag Booker T and say, oh, get a good match out of – yeah, he doesn't wrestle anymore. He's in his 50s. So, yeah, that is the situation. Stevie hasn't wrestled in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I think that the Revival would be good enough to get a good match out of Harlem Heat, and they should beat them, but I don't know if that would happen. But why not? I thought the promo on Booker T was great. I thought it was good heel stuff. And if they get the match, then good. If they don't, well, then they look a lot tougher than if they're 50 years old.
Yeah, I question why they did it at all. I was trying to understand what's the point of even doing it if there's no payoff.
Planting seeds.
Yeah, I guess. So this.
Here's the thing. Also, sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Vince McMahon hates when people plant seeds if there is no potential match. Do you think the Revival give a shit if it pisses off Vince McMahon right now?
Well, I don't think they did it without Vince McMahon's knowledge or without somebody's
Probably not.
knowledge. Like I think they damn well knew they were going to do it. And
Yes.
Vince McMahon's at the point where planting seeds with no payoff. He's way past that. You know what I mean? Doesn't make a difference. Lashley, Lana, I want to ask you about this. So we've talked about how bad the storyline is. We've talked about how, well, at least Lana's promo work has been pretty good. At least that's been one highlight of a really shitty program. Kayla Braxton, of all people, posted this on Twitter on December 16. I want to get your thoughts on it. You have it, Camilo?
The tweet.
Kayla Braxton's tweet.
She says that she would forgo her pay to.
We literally have
not
3
see
pieces
that-
of media this week. We got nothing. There it is. I'll forego my paycheck to never see Lana and Lashley together on television again. I found it interesting that somebody like Kayla Braxton would post that. Do you think that she's somebody that WWE, they don't care enough about to even really notice it? Do you think that she's somebody where she doesn't care if she gets heat for it? What do you think? What are your thoughts on having her kind of crap on a WWE storyline like that?
Good. I'd prefer honesty. Which I mean, I think is partially in storyline as well. Maybe you could see it as that, and if she were to get heat from it, she could easily say that, I think.
I guess. I don't know. It just seemed to me like she was shitting on the program. But
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it sucks. So
yeah, it does. It does.
it's really bad. I am excited for the wedding, though.
NWA Into the Fire. How was it? The pay-per-view. I haven't seen it.
Bless this company. A 2.5 hour show at
Okay.
6:05 p.m. on a Saturday. Oh my God. Like, I mean, I was up till 2 a.m. just watching UFC before the coverage. I was up till 5 a.m. covering it. But before any major fights happened, NWA Into the Fire was done. I had assigned that to Warren. Warren, you all subscribe to him at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. But the review show was over there, and I was like, shit, I could have been on this review show. The show was over at like 8:30. I was stoked, Jimmy. I couldn't have been happier. 2.5 hours was so much more digestible, and the show was good. And Marty Scurll showed up.
Yeah, Marty Scurll showed up, and he also did the power tapings afterwards.
Yeah.
Is this a situation, because we know that Cole Cabana, he was working Ring of Honor and NWA at the same time. Is it basically a similar situation? I know his contract with Ring of Honor is coming up, or maybe it's already expired, but I don't think he's signing full-time with the NWA. I think this is just something he's doing. Is he still technically under contract to Ring of Honor, or is his contract up?
I don't know if he's under contract. He's under an agreement with them, but I don't know if you've noticed. Did you see what Cody said about it?
He's keeping his options open.
Have you noticed, and this is not a shot at Cody, but when it seems like people aren't going to end up in AEW, like Cody is quick to be like, oh, well, this is what they're doing. Like the CM Punk thing, he's like, I think CM Punk's going back to WWE.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And he's
He
like,
wasn't
oh,
wrong.
Marty's
wrong.
I know. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, Marty's keeping his options open. I was like, well, I mean, I would kind of leave that up to them personally, but if that's how he wants to do it, that's fine. I understand that. Cody's very transparent in his interviews these days. Like he's very honest or transparent in these. Like he talked about the Money in the Bank stuff, but it's just something I noticed. But if you're Marty, here's the thing: a lot of people were asking me whether or not Joey Ryan had a bunch of options because that was a lot of speculation. They're like, well, what will he do? Will he go to AEW? And I'm thinking, everybody's getting signed by WWE, Ring of Honor, NXT, Impact even, AEW. Somebody's got to headline these indie shows.
Yeah, the thing with Joey Ryan, though, and he kind of acknowledged it too, is he could have gone to AEW and he could have gone to WWE, but not as that character.
Yeah, but I mean, he gets to do that. He gets to work whenever he wants.
Yep.
Well, except for the Impact stuff. If Marty wants to do that for a while, I don't blame the dude.
Yeah, he might. He might. I mean, I still can't help but think he's going to end up in AEW. That's where all his buddies are.
Sure. But I
you're
mean,
right. If he wants to explore the waters.
In the short term, can you think of a bigger indie headliner than him? I mean, the thing is, I think that's probably what Matt Hardy will do in March, too. Matt Hardy, I don't see AEW falling all over themselves to work with him. Although if he's working matches like he did Monday every single week, maybe they would, because that was awesome. But I see him as a creative guy, and if you want your indie show promoted, or if you're Impact or Ring of Honor or even NWA, he would fit right in with a lot of those infomercials that you see on NWA with his broken stuff. I think that there's about to be a couple really interesting names out there that are going to freelance and do a little bit of what Samoa Joe did a few years ago before WWE was like, oh, we don't like this. Let's get him a part of the roster full time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, to me, you know, I try to put myself into the mindset of a wrestler. And to me, working the independent seems like such a hustle.
It does.
And you never know sometimes unless you only work with established promoters that you know and trust and whatever. You never know if you're getting that paycheck. You never know if, you know what I'm saying? Like I would much rather work for an AEW if the money is right.
Yeah.
Than I would be an independent wrestler. But again, I can't put myself in the shoes of Marty Scurll, so I don't know what he's thinking.
Also, you get to pick when you work, pretty much where you work. If you book a show, you can probably also book a seminar. You can book a signing. You can probably book a meet and greet. You can sign a stack of 8x10s. You can sell your merch. There's an awful lot of freedom there. And I mean, we heard Cody say it a couple years ago. Now, the money is much better in WWE now than it was in 2016. But he said he made more money on the indies than he did in WWE.
Yep. So, Aaron Stevens, Mr. Damian Sandow, so he won the national title on NWA Into the Fire. What's up with him? Because I know that he had left wrestling. He wanted to try his hand at acting. And we know what a tough racket that is. You can just ask Cody Rhodes. You can ask Chris Jericho. You can even ask Steve Austin, who said that he would never audition again. So is Aaron Stevens now looking to get back full-time into pro wrestling, or what's the situation with him?
I don't know. I can see what I can find out about that from NWA, or I can reach out to Aaron in particular. But I think this is good, man. He got out of wrestling when he was like 34 or 35. And that is, quite frankly, before your prime as a pro wrestler these days. But he was past his prime. He had stopped tanning. He didn't look like he had worked out anymore. That's not the case now. He looks like he's motivated. He looks like he's interested. And he looks like he's into this. And it looks like this is something he can really sink his teeth into. And I'm stoked. The guy's 37 years old. He's a big dude. He's like 6'4", 240. Like, he's got it. He's a part of that class, Jimmy. They just looked like they were poised to be upper card guys or main event guys. And WWE was just like, no. Because they had Cody Rhodes was hot as Dashing Cody Rhodes. Wade Barrett was hot in the Nexus. You had Ryback hot for a while with the CM Punk stuff. You had a lot of those guys, and they all left like around the same time. And it's like, oh, well, there goes that. So I'm glad to see him back, honestly.
Cool. How do you think Cody feels about the fact that the NWA's next pay-per-view on January 24th is going to be called Hard Times? How do you think Cody feels about that?
I don't want to speak for Cody, but generally when homage has been paid to his father, he seems happy about it. Like, he doesn't seem to. Again, I don't want to speak for Cody, but he's never seemed like the kind of guy that thinks that his father's legacy belongs to only whatever he's working with, type of thing, if that makes sense. And I mean, I think a big part of the reason he did the NWA stuff was because of his father, obviously.
Oh,
so
sure. Yeah.
I would imagine he doesn't have a problem with it, but then again, I don't know. I'm not Cody Rhodes.
Still one of the greatest promos of all time.
Oh, of course.
I still look it up on YouTube every now and then. It's one of the greatest. Yeah.
Do you ever look up my promos? Oh, you can't.
Colt Cabana, what's the word on him? So he finished up with the Ring of Honor after Final Battle. So what's the story on Colt Cabana?
There's a big push among talent that I've spoken to in AEW that want him there. I don't know if he'll get there, but there's a big push of talent that want him there. He lost the NWA title. He finished up on commentary. Poor Ian Riccaboni, man. Like, this guy has had or not just Riccaboni, who's awesome, but Ring of Honor can't keep commentators. Kevin Kelly left. Steve Corino left. He was very good. Now Colt Cabana left, and I like Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni, so I think they'll be fine. But Lord, if one of them leave, like, what the hell? What's next?
Cabana left on his own accord?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if he didn't get renewed. I don't know if he left, but he finished up.
Yeah, he finished up.
They gave him and I thought it was very nice of Ring of Honor to give him a match at Final Battle with Alex Shelley, a guy he had never been able to wrestle singles before. That was very cool of them. But it looked like that he was freeing himself up last weekend. That's how it came off to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens there. And then what did you think about PCO winning the Ring of Honor title at Final Battle?
They didn't put the title on Marty Scurll in April.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much more sense it would have made to have Marty Scurll hold that title all the way up to December with the Villain Enterprises thing, and then PCO breaks free from the control of Marty Scurll and beats Marty Scurll at Final Battle for that title? Instead, they had a shitty heatless match with Roosh.
This has been maybe the worst year in the last decade for Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't see Final Battle live. I saw a couple clips of it, but when I heard that PCO won the Ring of Honor title, nothing against PCO. I mean, the guy's had a rejuvenation of his career, and he's worked hard to kind of get himself a full-time contract again. I don't know if that's the guy at this age and everything that I want to be my champion.
I think he'll lose the title in a couple weeks.
Yeah, maybe he will. Maybe he will. But it's Ring of Honor, man. What a fall from grace for Ring of Honor. It's unbelievable how they've fallen.
And the thing
off.
is, like, the buzz around PCO was before he got to ROH.
Yes.
After he faced Walter and he was doing all that crazy shit there.
Yes.
He faced Janela back in June 2018. And since then, it's died down a lot. They really should have had Marty Scurll versus PCO, with Marty being the champion the last 8 months.
Right. Yep, I agree.
Ugh.
Well, last thing I got for you. So, but don't forget, after this, go to FightfulSelect.com. We're going to have The List Goes On. I got extra stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about backstage, and he's already preparing himself, Nigel. He's already preparing himself. Yeah, that's great. We're going to have stuff about backstage, Stephanie McMahon, Liv Morgan. I'm going to talk about those live event commercials WWE does. So we're going to talk about that stuff. But one more thing I want to talk about before we go off the air. I want to talk about Colby Covington. Anybody that's not an MMA fan, you're going to understand why I'm talking about it. So last weekend was UFC 245. Colby Covington got a shot at the UFC welterweight title against Kamaru Usman.
He got a shot, all right.
Well, let me talk about it. So he suffered a fractured jaw in the third round. He fought for 2 more rounds with a broken jaw, which is balls. He ended up losing by TKO in the 5th round. A lot of people reveled in the fact that he suffered a broken jaw, and we're kind of poking fun on him on social media and stuff like that. Here's why I want to talk about this. A few years ago, nobody knew who Colby Covington was, right? Nobody had a clue. Colby Covington figured it out. He figured out that sports is entertainment. And it doesn't matter if it's wrestling, if it's boxing, if it's MMA, even if it's football or basketball, you have to be entertaining to become a star. Now, granted, you have to be a winner too, because if you go out there and don't win, then you're going to have a short shelf life. But you look at guys like Floyd Mayweather and you look at guys like Conor McGregor, they got it. And the reason that they became very successful financially is because they got it. And Colby Covington figured it out. Now, maybe he was a little controversial sometimes with some of his comments, but he decided to grasp the heel persona. That's why he wore the Make America Great Again hats, openly supported Donald Trump, went to the White House, picked Kurt Angle's entrance music as his music to walk to the cage because he wanted people to chant "You suck" during that song. He did that intentionally. He grasped being a heel. And I think anybody that's reveling in the fact that he suffered a broken jaw, you completely missed the point.
Kind of.
No, you did, because there's so many guys in MMA and in wrestling too, but MMA more than anything. Let me finish. There's so many guys in MMA that they don't understand the entertainment aspect of that business, and when they win a fight and they're in the cage with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan says, "What's next?" What do they say, Sean? Whatever Dana White gives me, whatever the UFC decides for me. There are 0 stars in the UFC now, aside from John Jones, because he keeps winning, Daniel Cormier, I guess, because he won, but he was also a good talker. You can count on one hand how many bankable box office stars they have in the UFC, and it's because nobody grasp the entertainment aspect of the business. They all want to be too polite and they want to be too respectful. You have to become an entertainer if you want to be successful in that business. And I respect the fact that Colby Covington was. Yeah, he said some really controversial things, and I'm not going to defend him on that necessarily, but he understood you've got to be an entertainer in this business, and he chose to be a heel, and I fully respect him for that.
Yes, relatively speaking, he made a name for himself much bigger than he would have.
Absolutely, no question.
I do think that a lot of people overblow how much of a name that he's made for himself. His ESPN numbers were some of the worst that they've ever done. The prelim numbers for this show were down from the last pay-per-view. Also, can you remember anything that Kamaru Usman has ever said besides, I gave 20% tonight?
That Kamaru Usman has said?
Yes.
The only thing that I can remember, because I kind of found it funny, was when the crowd was chanting USA. Some of the crowd was chanting USA. Kamaru Usman, if you're not an MMA fan, he's Nigerian born, but he grew up in the States. And Kamaru Usman afterwards said, well, they were chanting USA to me because I'm more American than he is.
So before that, you would have never remembered anything Kamaru Usman's ever said in an interview, any antics.
No.
933,000 Instagram followers. Colby Covington, 334,000. Twitter followers. Kamaru Usman, 162,000. Colby, about 126. That's with Donald Trump retweeting him. Donald Trump, who's, okay, whether you're political or not, his followers are like, what? Donald's? Give me that.
What was that? What was that?
Nigel knows what I'm talking about.
Does he? Okay.
Multiple endorsements from Donald Trump. The Trump family came to his fights.
True.
And nobody gave a shit enough to tap follow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, number one, I don't think much of Twitter, and I think we've seen – I shouldn't say that. Let me take that back. I don't look at Twitter as heavily as other people do. And when you look at something like Fightful Select, our subscriptions doubled after we integrated it into .com, even though we plugged every Fightful Select article on Twitter. Every time we posted one, we got on .com, they doubled. So Twitter to me is not as big of a tool as a lot of people, tend to think that it is.
But Instagram and viewership and
let me just say this. I don't think Colby Covington has reached his peak so long as he continues to win. Right?
Yeah.
He's only kind of touched the surface in terms of this whole character.
Sure.
But he's got to continue to win. If he doesn't come back from this loss, rack up a couple of big wins, get another title shot, and beat Usman, he's never going to reach the next level, right? So I'm not saying that he has reached superstar status or anything. What I'm saying is he's one of these guys that gets it. And I wish that there was more guys in MMA that got it. Cowboy Cerrone's another guy maybe I'd put in there as a guy that's kind of understood the entertainment aspect a little bit.
Covington's a major pro wrestling fan, too. He did spots for Impact Wrestling, for the love of God.
Right.
He understands that for sure. But I understand that you guys need to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel, even though, in the future we'll be either on another Fightful channel or hopefully on our channel, Jimmy.
Why are you looking at me like I had something to do with this? I'm the guy that's trying to save it, Sean. That's
Jimmy,
who I am. I'm the guy trying to save it.
You're Scrooge, and I'm just trying to get my cooked goose. I want my goose back.
There you go.
Until next time, guys.